She cried loudly in her room 3 hours ago. Don't scroll, please don't scroll, listen to this because this message is for you and your heart needs this right now, and I don't say that lightly. 3 hours ago, while the world kept moving like nothing mattered, she closed her door, leaned against the wall, and finally let it all come out, not the quiet kind of crying people do in the shower or at night with the pillow over their face, but the loud, shaking, from the chest kind that happens when a soul can't hold itself together anymore, and at the exact same time, something inside you shifted, even if you didn't understand it, even if you just felt a sudden heaviness, a strange pause. A moment where your chest felt tight for no clear reason. Listen to this, because that wasn't random, that wasn't imagination, that was a spiritual signal traveling across distance, across silence, across whatever has been standing between you and her, and the universe brought you here right now because you are connected to that moment in a way that goes deeper than logic, deeper than memory, deeper than time. Don't scroll, stay with me, because this isn't about guilt or regret, this is about awareness, this is about awakening, this is about the truth that soulmates don't stop feeling each other just because life gets complicated. And while she was crying, she wasn't just crying about one bad day or one argument or one disappointment, she was crying because she's tired of being strong, tired of pretending she's healed, tired of acting like she doesn't still feel you in the quiet moments. And listen carefully, because this part is important. Her tears were a prayer even if she didn't mean them to be, they were a release even if she didn't plan it, and the universe responds to emotional honesty faster than it responds to words, and that's why you're here, seeing this, hearing this, feeling this pull in your chest that says, why does this feel like it's talking directly to me? Don't scroll, your heart needs this right now, because signs have already been showing up around you. Maybe you've been seeing the same numbers over and over, 11:11 on the clock when you weren't even trying, 2:22 popping up in random places, 3:33 when you wake up from dreams that feel too real to ignore. Listen to this, those aren't coincidences, those are alignment markers, gentle confirmations that something emotional and unfinished is still unfolding. And here's the part people don't like to hear but need to hear anyway: soulmate connections don't end cleanly, they go quiet, they go dormant, they go into waiting seasons where both people are being shaped separately. And 3 hours ago, her soul hit a breaking point in that waiting, and when that happens, the energetic cord between you doesn't snap, it tightens, and you felt it as restlessness, distraction, a sudden memory of her laugh or the way she used to say your name, and maybe you tried to shake it off, maybe you told yourself you were overthinking. But listen to this, the universe doesn't use overthinking as a language, it uses timing, it uses resonance. It uses moments like this to get your attention when your logical mind is too loud to listen. Don't scroll, this message is for you, because her crying wasn't a step backward, it was a clearing, a spiritual exhale, the kind that happens right before a truth rises to the surface, and that truth has your name written all over it even if she hasn't admitted that to herself yet. And here's where the tension comes in, because destiny doesn't always rush in dramatically, sometimes it whispers and waits to see if you'll notice, sometimes it asks you to slow down and feel instead of react. And right now, the universe is asking you to pause and ask yourself why this message found you, why your chest feels warm and heavy at the same time, why part of you feels comforted and unsettled all at once. Listen to this, because this is the awakening moment, this is where you realize that love isn't just about being together, it's about being connected even in separation, it's about souls that still speak when mouths are silent. And 3 hours ago, when she cried, she released fear she's been holding about reaching out, about being vulnerable again, about admitting she still cares, and the universe noticed that courage, and now it's preparing the next step. But here's the cliffhanger you need to sit with: don't scroll yet, because within the next few days, maybe even sooner, you're going to notice a sign that feels uncomfortably specific, something that makes you stop and say, this can't be random, a song that hits too close, a dream where she looks at you differently, a message that almost comes through but doesn't yet. And when that happens, your instinct might be to ignore it, to stay guarded, to protect yourself. But listen to this, protection is not the same as alignment, and the universe doesn't bring up old feelings to hurt you, it brings them up to heal what was left unresolved. Your heart needs this right now, because this season isn't about chasing or forcing anything, it's about readiness. It's about recognizing when love is asking to be acknowledged again. And you don't have to do anything dramatic today, you don't have to reach out impulsively or relive the past, but you do have to stay open, because what's coming next depends on awareness. And here's the soothing truth I want to leave you with: while the world sleeps and distractions fade, two souls that are meant to understand each other are being gently nudged back into alignment, and this message is the nudge for you. So don't scroll, take a breath, feel what you're feeling without judging it, because when the universe speaks this softly and this personally, it's not to scare you, it's to prepare you for what's about to unfold next. Don't scroll. Stay right here, listen to this, because this message is still for you and your heart needs this right now, and I know part of you is wondering why this feels so close, so specific, so intimate, like someone reached into the quietest part of your chest and spoke out loud, and that's because after she cried, after the shaking stopped and the room went silent, something else happened that most people never notice. She sat there and stared at nothing, feeling that strange calm that comes after emotional collapse, that eerie stillness where thoughts slow down and truth finally has space to rise, and in that stillness, your energy crossed her mind again, not as pain, not as anger, but as familiarity, as safety, as something unfinished. And don't scroll, listen to this, because the universe works in layers. First it breaks the walls, then it softens the heart, and only then does it open the path. And right now you are standing in the middle layer, the part where awareness begins but action hasn't happened yet, and that's why this feels suspenseful, why it feels like something is building without you knowing exactly what. And if you've been feeling restless lately, like you can't fully focus, like your mind drifts even when you try to stay present, that's not distraction, that's attunement. Your soul is tuning into a frequency it recognizes, and here's what most people don't understand about soulmate connections. They're not loud all the time, they don't constantly announce themselves. Sometimes they pull away so both people can grow separately, but they never stop communicating on an energetic level, and when one person breaks emotionally, the other feels it as a quiet call, a subtle pull, a sense that something important is happening somewhere else. And listen to this, because this is where spiritual awakening sneaks in, not through dramatic visions or sudden miracles, but through awareness, through moments like this where you realize your feelings didn't come from nowhere, and the universe has been trying to get your attention gently for a while now, through repeated numbers, through delayed plans, through moments of nostalgia that hit out of the blue, and you might have brushed them off, told yourself it was just stress or habit, but your heart knows better, and your heart needs this right now, because what's unfolding isn't meant to reopen wounds, it's meant to show you how much healing has already happened, how strong you've become, how differently you're able to feel now. And after she cried, she didn't feel empty the way she expected to, she felt lighter, clearer, like something heavy finally left her body. And clarity is dangerous in the best way, because clarity leads to honesty, and honesty leads to movement. And here's the part that might make your breath catch for a second. Listen to this, because when emotional release happens on one side of a soulmate connection, reflection happens on the other, and that's why you're here, why this message feels like it's following you, why it feels like the universe is leaning in and saying, pay attention now. And you don't have to know exactly what's coming, you just have to recognize that this is a threshold moment, the kind where timelines quietly shift, and things that felt stuck begin to loosen. And if you've been seeing 11:11 lately, that's alignment asking you to notice. If it's been 2:22, that's balance being restored. If it's 3:33, that's communication preparing to reappear. And don't scroll, because this next part is subtle but important. The universe doesn't rush reunions, it prepares both hearts first, it softens pride, it quiets fear, it replaces old narratives with new understanding. And right now, you're being invited to release whatever story you've been telling yourself about how this ended, who was right, who was wrong, what could have been different, because those stories belong to the past version of you, not the person you are now. And her tears 3 hours ago were partly about that too, about realizing she's not the same person she was when things fell apart, and neither are you. And that's why this connection feels different now, less chaotic, more grounded, more honest. And listen to this, because destiny doesn't repeat lessons exactly the same way twice, it evolves them, it gives you another chance from a higher level of awareness. And that's why whatever comes next won't look like the past. It won't feel like old pain resurfacing, it will feel like recognition, like two people finally understanding what they couldn't before. And here's the cliffhanger you're meant to sit with: don't scroll yet, because soon, very soon, you're going to be faced with a choice, not necessarily a dramatic one, maybe just a moment where you can either close your heart out of habit or keep it open out of trust, and the universe won't force you either way. It respects free will too much for that, but it will keep sending signs until you acknowledge them, and your heart needs this right now, because ignoring your intuition doesn't make it quieter, it makes it heavier. And this isn't about guaranteeing outcomes or promising fairy tales, it's about alignment, about being ready for whatever form this connection takes next, whether that's a conversation, a realization, or simply peace. And I want you to hear this clearly before this part ends: you are not late, you did not miss your moment, you are not being punished with distance, you are being prepared with awareness. And when the universe speaks through emotion, timing, and resonance like this, it's not to confuse you, it's to remind you that some connections are written deeper than circumstance, and whatever unfolds next will make sense in hindsight. But for now, don't scroll, take another breath, stay open, because this story isn't finished yet, it's just entering a quieter, more meaningful chapter. Don't scroll. Stay with me, listen to this, because this message is still for you and your heart needs this right now, and I need you to hear this part slowly, the way truth usually arrives, not rushed, not loud, but steady and certain, because after the emotional release, after the clarity, after the quiet awareness settled in on both sides, the universe began rearranging things in ways you couldn't see yet. And this is where people get confused, because they expect destiny to announce itself with obvious signs, but most of the time it moves through subtle shifts, delayed replies, sudden memories, unexpected calm. And you may have noticed that lately your reactions are different, the things that once triggered you don't hit the same, the thoughts that used to spiral now pause. And listen to this, that's not you losing interest, that's you maturing emotionally, that's you becoming stable enough to hold something real without fear tearing it apart. And while this was happening inside you, something similar was happening inside her, because after the tears dried and the room went quiet, she didn't feel the urge to distract herself the way she used to. She didn't reach for noise or validation or escape, she sat with the feeling. And sitting with emotion is one of the most powerful spiritual acts there is, because it tells the universe, I'm ready to see the truth now. And don't scroll, because this is where the connection deepens. Soulmate energy responds fastest to emotional honesty and emotional maturity, not desperation, not longing, but readiness. And that's why this phase feels slower but heavier, calmer but more intense. And if you've been feeling like time itself has been acting strange, days moving fast but moments stretching, that's alignment at work, that's timelines adjusting to make space for something that requires precision. And your heart needs this right now, because part of you may still be doubting, wondering if you imagined the connection, wondering if this is just nostalgia or wishful thinking. But listen to this, imagination doesn't come with physical sensations, imagination doesn't tighten your chest, doesn't warm your body, doesn't show up in dreams uninvited. Those are signals, and the universe speaks in sensations long before it speaks in events. And that's why you're being asked to stay present, to notice, to stop scrolling through your life emotionally and actually feel what's happening inside you, because the more aware you become, the clearer the path gets. And here's something most people never realize until it's too late: the universe doesn't always bring people back together to recreate what was lost. Sometimes it brings them back together to complete something unfinished, a conversation that never happened, an understanding that never landed, a version of love that couldn't exist before because both people were still learning. And don't scroll, because this next part matters. Her tears didn't erase her fear completely, they revealed it: fear of being hurt again, fear of reaching out and being misunderstood, fear of wanting something deeply and not knowing if it's safe to want it. And if you're honest with yourself, you've been holding similar fears, just dressed up differently. Maybe you call it logic, maybe you call it self-respect, maybe you call it moving on, but underneath it is the same question: what if I open my heart and it costs me again? Listen to this, because the universe doesn't ask you to ignore fear, it asks you to walk with it without letting it lead. And right now you're being guided to a place of balance, where your heart is open but your boundaries are intact, where you're available but not desperate, where you're willing but not chasing, and that's soulmate alignment at its healthiest, and signs will keep showing up to support this shift. Maybe you'll hear her name in a place you didn't expect, maybe you'll come across a phrase or a memory that feels intentional, maybe angel numbers will appear when you're thinking about her without trying, 444 reminding you that you're protected, 555 signaling change, 101 nudging you toward a new beginning built on truth instead of fantasy. Don't scroll, because your heart needs this right now. You are not being toyed with by the universe, you are being trained to trust yourself again, and that's the real awakening, not reunion, not messages, not dramatic moments, but inner stability, the kind that allows love to exist without chaos. And here's the part that may feel uncomfortable but freeing at the same time: you don't have to know how this ends to walk forward, you don't need guarantees to stay open, you don't need promises to honor what you feel, and the universe is watching how you handle this moment, not to judge you, but to align you with what you're ready for. And if you choose to stay aware instead of avoidant, present instead of distracted, honest instead of guarded, things will begin to move naturally, without force, without anxiety. And her side of the connection is feeling this too, even if she hasn't named it yet, even if she's still processing quietly, because emotional clarity creates energetic momentum, and momentum eventually turns into action, but only when both sides feel safe enough to move. And don't scroll, because this is where the cliffhanger sharpens. The next sign won't be loud, it won't scream, "This is it." It will be subtle but undeniable, something that makes your intuition speak louder than your fear. And when it happens, your response won't be panic, it will be calm recognition, like, "I knew this was coming," and that's how you'll know you're aligned, because soulmate moments don't feel shocking, they feel familiar, they feel earned, they feel right even when they're uncertain. And I need you to hear this clearly before this part ends: you are not being asked to go back to who you were, you are being invited to step forward as who you've become, and whatever unfolds from here, whether it's reconnection, closure, or a deeper understanding, will come from a place of strength, not need. And that's the difference between karmic cycles and soul connections. Karmic cycles repeat until you learn, soul connections evolve once you do, and right now, you are evolving, she is evolving, and the universe is quietly preparing the next moment. So don't scroll, stay present, stay grounded, because this story is still unfolding, and the next chapter will reveal itself only to a heart that's willing to stay open without losing itself. Don't scroll. Stay right here with me, listen to this slowly, because this message is still for you and your heart needs this right now. And what's happening in this phase is quieter but deeper than everything before it, because after awareness comes recalibration, and the universe never rushes that part, it lingers there on purpose, reshaping patterns, softening reactions, rewiring the way you feel before you ever take a step. And you may have noticed that lately your memories of her aren't sharp with pain anymore, they're gentler, warmer, almost nostalgic instead of heavy. And listen to this, that's not you forgetting, that's you integrating, that's your soul filing those memories into a place where they no longer control you. And at the same time, something similar is happening on her side too, because after emotional release and clarity comes reflection, and reflection has a way of stripping away illusions. And she's starting to see things not the way fear painted them, not the way ego framed them, but the way they actually were, imperfect but real, flawed but meaningful. And don't scroll, because this is where destiny gets delicate, this is the stage where one impulsive move can disrupt alignment, and one patient breath can deepen it. And your heart needs this right now, because patience doesn't mean waiting passively, it means holding space internally, staying receptive without forcing outcomes. And the universe rewards that kind of emotional discipline, not with instant gratification, but with lasting shifts. And if you've been feeling unusually calm lately, even in moments where you expected anxiety, that's a sign you're stabilizing emotionally, that you're no longer reacting from old wounds. And listen to this, stability is magnetic, it pulls clarity toward it, it invites honest communication without demanding it, and that's why the energy between you and her feels different now. Less charged with confusion, more filled with quiet recognition, and signs will continue appearing, not as tests, but as confirmations. Maybe you'll wake up just before your alarm repeatedly at the same time each morning, maybe you'll notice numbers like 606 or 7 07 When you're feeling peaceful instead of restless, those are signals of harmony, of alignment settling into place. And don't scroll, because this next part is important. The universe doesn't always bring people back together physically when alignment first happens. Sometimes it brings them back emotionally first, through understanding, through forgiveness that happens silently, through letting go of narratives that once defined the connection, and her heart is moving through that process. Right now, untangling old fears from present reality, realizing that what hurt before doesn't have to define what could exist now, and if you're feeling a sudden urge to forgive, not necessarily to forget, but to soften. That's not weakness, that's growth, and your heart needs this right now because forgiveness clears space, not for the other person, but for truth, and truth is what destiny moves through most easily. And here's something most people never realize until they look back: soulmate connections don't re-enter your life when you're desperate for them, they re-enter when you're no longer afraid of losing yourself, and that's why this phase feels grounded, almost ordinary on the surface, even though something profound is happening underneath. And listen to this: if you've been feeling called to slow down, to spend more time alone without feeling lonely, to reflect instead of distract, that's preparation, that's your intuition guiding you toward readiness. And don't scroll, because the universe is paying close attention to how you handle this stillness, not to punish or reward you, but to align timing. And timing in soul connections is everything, because love delivered too early becomes a lesson, and love delivered at the right moment becomes a foundation. And her side of the connection is beginning to feel that too, a sense that rushing would break something delicate, that whatever happens next needs to be honest, grounded, and intentional. And that awareness alone is a massive shift from where things once were. And here's the tension you might be feeling, the part where you wonder, should I do something, or should I wait? Listen to this, because the answer isn't action or inaction, it's alignment. When alignment is right, action feels obvious and calm, not urgent or anxious. And until then, your role is simply to stay present, to notice without attaching, to feel without spiraling. And your heart needs this right now because resisting the process only creates friction, and friction delays what's meant to unfold smoothly. And signs will continue to reassure you, not in flashy ways, but in subtle confirmations. A sense of peace when you think about her instead of heaviness, a quiet confidence that whatever happens, you'll be okay. Those are the universe's way of saying you're ready for truth. And here's the cliffhanger you're meant to sit with at the end of this phase: don't scroll yet, because soon, the silence itself will change texture. It will feel less like distance and more like anticipation, less like absence and more like space being held. And when that shift happens, you'll know you're close to the next step, not because something dramatic occurs, but because your intuition will settle instead of question. And that's when destiny moves, not loudly, not forcefully, but naturally, like something finally clicking into place. And I want you to hear this clearly before this part closes: you are not being tested, you are being aligned, you are not being kept waiting, you are being prepared. And whatever unfolds next will come from a place of clarity, stability, and mutual awareness, not confusion or fear. So don't scroll, stay grounded, keep listening to your inner calm, because this story is still unfolding, and the quiet you're in right now is not emptiness, it's sacred space being created for what comes next. Don't scroll. Stay with me, listen to this all the way through, because this message is still for you and your heart needs this right now. And what's unfolding in this part of the journey is something most people misunderstand, because they think destiny only moves when something happens on the outside, when a message is sent, when paths cross, when words are spoken. But listen to this: the most important movement always happens internally first. And right now you are in the phase where your inner world is being quietly prepared to hold a truth that once would have overwhelmed you, and you might feel it as a strange steadiness, like the emotional highs and lows have smoothed out, like you're not grasping anymore, not replaying every detail, not trying to predict the outcome. And your heart needs this right now because that calm isn't indifference, it's readiness. It's the kind of grounded energy that allows love to arrive without chaos. And while this is happening inside you, something equally important is happening on her side too, because after reflection comes accountability, and accountability doesn't always look like guilt or regret. Sometimes it looks like honesty with oneself, like finally admitting what mattered, what was avoided, what was misunderstood. and she's beginning to see the connection not through the lens of fear or past hurt, but through clarity, and clarity has a way of stripping away excuses. And don't scroll, because this is where the energy between you shifts. From emotional memory into present moment awareness, where thoughts of each other feel less like longing and more like recognition, and if you've noticed that when you think of her lately, your body doesn't tense up the way it used to, that's not random, that's healing completing a cycle, and listen to this, healing doesn't erase connection, it refines it, it removes distortion, it brings truth into focus, and your heart needs this right now because part of you may still be waiting for proof. For reassurance, for something external to confirm what you're feeling, but the universe works from the inside out, and it's already giving you confirmation through peace, through emotional regulation, through the quiet confidence that you can handle whatever comes next, and signs are still appearing, but they're subtler now, more personal. Maybe you catch yourself smiling at a memory instead of bracing against it. Maybe you feel gratitude for the lessons instead of resentment. Those are signs of completion, not endings. And don't scroll, because this next layer is about trust, not trust in another person, but trust in yourself, trust that your intuition is no longer clouded by fear, trust that if you feel called to open, you'll do so from strength, not need, and this is exactly where soulmate connections recalibrate, because they don't thrive on intensity alone, they thrive on stability, on mutual emotional safety, and her awareness is catching up to this truth too, realizing that whatever comes next can't be rushed or forced, it has to be chosen consciously, and that realization changes everything, because conscious choice is what separates destiny from repetition, and your heart needs this right now because you're no longer the person who would accept uncertainty disguised as excitement, you're someone who values clarity, presence, and emotional honesty, and listen to this. The universe has been watching how you move through this stillness, not to judge you, but to align timing, and timing isn't about waiting until someone is perfect, it's about waiting until both people are honest with themselves, and that honesty is ripening now, slowly, naturally, without pressure, and if you've been feeling drawn to simplify your life, to clear distractions, to focus on what truly matters, that's preparation, not avoidance, and don't scroll, because here's the part that might surprise you. Sometimes the most powerful shift happens when you stop needing a specific outcome, when you're open to connection but not attached to form, when you're willing to receive truth even if it looks different than you imagined, and that openness is magnetic, it invites alignment effortlessly, and her energy is responding to that, even if she hasn't consciously named it yet, because energy always responds to authenticity. And your heart needs this right now because you are stepping into a version of yourself that can love without losing balance, that can listen without defending, that can speak without fear, and that version of you is exactly who this connection needs now. And here's where the tension builds again, because as alignment strengthens, the universe often introduces a pause, a final stretch of quiet, not to delay, but to solidify, and this pause may feel strange, like something is just about to happen but hasn't yet, and listen to this, that sensation is accurate. You are on the edge of a shift, and the universe is asking one last thing of you in this phase. Patience without expectation, openness without pressure, presence without anticipation, and don't scroll, because this is the cliffhanger you're meant to feel, the sense that something meaningful is approaching, not with urgency, but with certainty, and when the next step arrives, it won't knock loudly, it will feel natural, almost obvious, like a door that was always there finally opening because both sides are ready to walk through it, and I want you to hear this clearly before this part closes. You are not waiting because something is wrong, you are pausing because something is being aligned correctly, and whatever unfolds next will not require you to abandon yourself, overextend emotionally, or relive old pain, it will meet you where you are now, grounded, aware, and steady, so don't scroll, take a breath, stay open, trust the calm you're feeling, because this phase is not empty. It's the foundation being laid for what comes next, and the universe doesn't build on unstable ground.